Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education by Kate Colbert and Joe Salustio with contributions by Elvin Freitas is now available for pre-order on Amazon. Get your Kindle edition or your softbound book. It's going to be
amazing.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. You heard me say that before. You'll hear me say it again. Of course, you know we have Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education. The book coming out in less than a month. It's October. It's coming out in late November. We took the first 100 plus, it's like 125 college and university president interviews, and we distilled those down into a book of common themes, challenges, and you're going to get insights from everybody across the industry who's doing the hard work of serving students. And I'll tell you guys this, and I know I've plugged the book like a million times, but I'm going to do it again. We do have when I look at the list of the presidents we interviewed in that 125 or so that we're including in the book, not everybody's going to get quoted, but insights from all. It's publics and privates and small and large and for-profit and nonprofit and in specialty colleges and HBCUs and HSIs, and it's all over the board. It's really an incredible product, and we're looking forward to it. I will tell you guys that we are also booked out now to the end of February with episodes. So if you had enough EdUp experience, and I say that every day, we are booked every day. From noon to 1 Central, my lunch, I Eat and Podcast, with leaders all across higher education. For months, Elvin Freitas, for months, he has me scheduled, producing me, and he never gives me a day off. But that's okay, ladies and gentlemen, because I get to take two people along with me, my co-host and a first-time guest, which I love. But let me bring in my co-host first, because this is now third or fourth time she's been back. She gets better every single time. In fact, we have sound bites that she has recorded of herself, and that's how I intro her. Ladies and gentlemen, here she comes. She is Anya Bierzinski.
This is so fun.
She's the Senior Executive Digital Solutions at Advanced 360 Education. Anya.
This is so fun.
I love that you recorded that thing for me. Thank you.
This is so
you,
fun.
Joe. Anything for you.
All right. Well, I think it is fun, Anya. It is fun, and thank you for saying so often.
This is so fun.
All right, anyway, I'll stop. I do, by the way, scour the internet for these obscure sounds, like, so I can make fun of people, mostly myself, my co-hosts for sure, not my guests. Never will do that to my guests, of course, and
No,
definitely not going to do that to my guest today, who's one of my best dressed guests ever. I can remember one other or two other gentlemen and one of the ladies that I interviewed that were just dressed to the nines. This gentleman is dressed to the nine, ladies and gentlemen. He's got his bow tie on. Here he comes, ladies and gentlemen, and let me get it ready for him. He is Dr. Willie Todd Jr. He's president of Denmark Technical College, and here's what I want you to do, Willie, and I want to just...
Welcome to tonight's program.
I've downloaded that one too, by the way, and I had to find a reason to use it. So there you go. What's going on, Willie?
Hey, hello, how are you? All is well today. Glad to be speaking with you too.
And I'd like you to confirm that you are very well dressed. You are.
I will say I probably am, although I've been wearing bow ties since I was in high school.
The crowd just can't get enough. No, you are very well dressed. I love it.
Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that.
You know what? I always believe that you perform to the level of how you look. Like, that's one of the secrets, right, of performing well in your job is if you dressed for it, you just bring yourself to another level. If you're in sweatpants and we call it the COVID uniform, sometimes you just don't perform to the same level. You know what I mean?
No, I agree with that. And I'll even say on a more serious level, for us being a historically Black college, oftentimes we believe in modeling for our students as well. We think it's important. We have a lot of first generation college students sometimes. So we want them to see just what professional attire looks like. And so on most days, I try to do that. Some days I think I'm more successful than others.
I like it.
Well, I will tell you this. We are really excited to talk to you. You do a lot of work to serve students, Black students in particular. Level set for us. Tell us about Denmark Technical College. What do you do? How do you do it?
So Denmark Technical College is a historically Black technical college located in Denmark, South Carolina, which is in rural South Carolina. South Carolina, the state of South Carolina has 16 technical colleges. We are one of those 16. We're the only HBCU. We're the only one with housing of the 16. And this is our 75th anniversary. So for Denmark Tech, what we do, my mantra is putting the tech back in Denmark Tech. And so we've been introducing just some old favorite programs and some new programs, but also for us, we have our traditional technical programs. We have associate and transfer degree programs, but we also have sports, which is a little different as well. We have men and women's basketball, men and women's soccer, women volleyball, and men and women's track and field.
Amazing.
So you're kind of like this hybrid institution of sorts, right? Historically Black college, a rural historically Black college. So there's descriptors going along with this that has sports and living facilities, and you're a 2-year college, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That
and
is
you
correct.
So you take all of those bits together, and it is a unique infrastructure that you have, a unique management infrastructure, the staffing. You can community college, as an example, a 2-year college. Typically doesn't have sports teams because students are transferring in, transferring out. They don't want to create the infrastructure for that. Being rural comes with its own recruiting challenges. When you know what I mean? So there's a lot there in terms of how you staff, what you staff, how you support. Can you talk a little bit about balance? Because all of those things need balance and need specific oversight.
Most definitely. So for me, the primary purpose is, as I said, our technical education program. So my mantra, putting the tech back in Denmark Tech, because even though we're an HBCU, we pride ourselves on being a diverse institution. So on our campus, we have Black students live here, we have white students live here, we have Hispanic students, Latinx students, and we pride ourselves for that. And in our community, in our state, each of us kind of serves a certain segment of the population. So we have 3 primary counties, Allendale, Bamberg, and Barnwell counties. But because we have housing, like this year, we have students from probably at least 12 different states for our programs. So it is a thin line, but for me, the top priority is ensuring that our students get a premier technical education that's going to equip them to go out and secure employment. For our students who want to come into our transfer degree programs, and that's where a lot of our athletes, of course, many of them are maybe hoping to move on and become D2 or D1 eventually. We're NJCAA Division I. But then in addition to that, we also believe in nurturing the whole student. We also have a robust dual enrollment program, which are students from high schools as well. So we're here to serve the needs of our community. But at the end of the day, we're trying to assist students in gaining the necessary skills to go out and secure employment so that they can either create successful wealth for their families or generational wealth, even the beginning of it. And we've been doing that fairly well over these past 3 years since I've been president here.
Wonderful.
Anya, I do want to bring you in, but I have one quick, very important question since Dr. Todd brought it up here. Generational wealth is achieved, I think, faster through education.
Yes.
There's a battle. I call it like it's a philosophical battle going on between no college, it's not worth it, doesn't have as much value as it used to have. And it's funny because we're writing about this a little bit in the book, and I go, who's saying this? And who says college doesn't have value or education it doesn't have as much value? And if that person is saying that as a thought leader, quote unquote, are they saying it to their own kids when they go home at the end of the day going, hey, you know what, Johnny, and don't go to college. It just doesn't have as much value as it used to have. Go here instead. And what is the instead? Because the instead is less clear. The instead has less structure, and there is value, certificates and non-degree and stackables, but it is a Wild West a little bit right now in that. And so I know, so when you talk about generational wealth and you talk about serving underserved communities and people of color, what's the narrative around higher education amongst your students and amongst the students in the rural communities that you're serving? Do they believe it still has value, or is there a convincing process that you're going through still?
So I think that's an excellent question. And I shouldn't say this, but I always hate when you ask a question, they say, oh, that's an excellent question, but I think that's an excellent question.
I'm going to take that as a compliment then.
Oh, it definitely is. It definitely is. And so what I do believe is that there's a trend happening in higher education right now. And this is coming from someone who, this is my 28th year in higher education, and 25 of those 28 have been at four-year institutions. I've been at small, large, private, public, and what I can tell you is what the two-year college is doing is what the four-year college wishes it could do. Our students are graduating sooner. They're graduating with less debt. They're not unemployed or underemployed. They're employed in the field for which they have studied. In our past 2 years, we've seen placements rates of 87% and 81%. And these are people coming into the field. And so when we talk about, I think students are looking at return on investment. And this is not a new thing. I'm pretty sure when you were in school, certainly when I was in school, there were people who wondered, why am I taking German or, French? Why am I taking these core courses when they have very little to do with what I want to do? And at most colleges, they would tell you the first 2 years, everybody's taking the same thing anyway. You don't really get into your subject until you get into those junior, senior years. And what we're trying to do is get students to realize and get parents and teachers and even counselors to realize the benefit of technical education, that many of our students are leaving, some with as little as a 16-week certificate, making $45,000 to $60,000. And as a person who has degrees in English, 4 of my 5 degrees are in English, I can tell you it was a long time before I got to $60,000 when I started my career. And we had students that just finished a line worker program starting between $45,000 and $60,000, and that was a 16-week program. So I think we're having to rethink what higher education looks like. I think we're having to rethink, should everybody go the 4-year route? And one of the least smart comments I've heard is someone said to me, you know what, Dr. Todd, I'm glad you're at a 2-year college because some people aren't smart enough to go to a 4-year college. And I said, you know what, that's the least smart thing I think I've heard in a long time. I said, what I think is some people are smart enough to realize it doesn't take a 4-year degree to do what they want to do in life.
I love it. This is like the future of higher ed conversation that we get to have on this podcast a lot with people who are doing this work, and that's true. And Anya, I'm sorry, I'm monopolizing. I'm going to have you come in a second, but it's not that higher ed doesn't have value. It's how we experience it that the value changes, and we have to get that right because the public is starting to go, oh. Yeah, you know what? We're hearing all these people say, education doesn't have value. No, it just has value at differing degrees. I don't mean pieces of paper. I mean pathways. And so how do we? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. But I'll add as well, I do think the way, having been at 4-year, having started as an English professor, I think we're also having to rethink the way we engage students in the classrooms. Some people, and this is something that a lot of faculty get offended when I say, and I don't apologize for it. Most faculty are exceptionally bright, but have not taken any pedagogical, andragogical type courses, so they don't necessarily know high-level instructional practices. So we get up and we just lecture. And we get up and we put a PowerPoint up, and then we think we've done something awesome and amazing. Yikes. And so when we're dealing with young people who have been utilizing technology, many of them, if they're traditional age college students, since they were babies, their parents gave it to them to either keep them stimulated or engaged while they were doing something else. And so we're still teaching the same way people taught with Plato and Aristotle, and how long ago has that been? Yikes. And so I think we're having to look at, in every program, something we're doing here at Denmark Tech is every class, I'm challenging the faculty. How can you incorporate technology, high-level technology into that course? And what careers are out there in your field, whether it's English, whether it's history, whether it's psychology, and let's try to link some of our assignments to that. Let's introduce them to careers that 10 years ago didn't exist. And let's be clear, in technology, every other day, maybe not every other day, but so often new jobs are being invented that 10 years ago, we didn't even know what they were.
100%.
Anya, over to you.
Yeah, so Dr. Todd, I noticed that you took the helm of the college right before the start of the pandemic. So like January 2020. Yeah. And I'm interested in just hearing your story in terms of how, like, what waters, obviously the expected waters you had to navigate, but how that sort of changed your vision for the university, for the college as you came on board, and what particular challenges you encountered.
So, as you said, Anya, it was so interesting because literally January 2020, I become the president. March 2020, here's a global pandemic. Mm-hmm. And, even in our technical college system, everybody went virtual. But for us, even going virtual became different because we had students here who were housed here. When people talk about broadband insecurity, especially in smaller communities, we had people with housing insecurity. And so we had to deal with that. But our mission is to engage, educate, and empower our students. And so we had to see, how do we do this for our young people, many who were going back to communities where they didn't have broadband access. So we immediately, the best thing that I think happened to our college, along with many small colleges, are the funds that came associated with, because when you look at small HBCUs, oftentimes there's been equity disparities in our funding. So we were able to receive money through the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, which is HERF, and the Governor's Emergency Relief Fund here in South Carolina, that allowed us to assist all of our students. We were able to improve technology on our campus, over the entire campus. We were able to provide laptops to all of our students. We were able to provide hotspots to all of our students. We were able to improve our technological infrastructure 100%. And that was really good. And see, what a lot of people don't know about Denmark Tech is when I arrived, in addition to dealing with a global pandemic, we also had challenges with our regional accreditor, which is the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools Commission on Colleges, which is SAC-COC. And the state had voted that maybe they should close this particular college. And there was discussion about that.
What?
And so for us, we're dealing with all of these challenges. Now, one thing I like to say about our challenges with our regional accreditor, they were never related to the quality of our academic program. They were related specifically to finances, and finances are related specifically to enrollment. But they were just, I jokingly say, every time I open the door, something else would fall out of it. So, but where we are now, we have assembled a team of administrators and faculty and staff that have benefited this college so much that the same body that voted about closing Denmark Tech in 2018, in 2022, a few months ago, chose me as the president and CEO of the year for all 16 colleges. And I think that speaks volumes to the type of work that our entire team has done. Because the president, he or she is only one person, and they can only do as much as their team is doing. And so for us, those challenges, we ran into the same kind of challenges as everybody else, but also as a technical college, some of our programs did not lend themselves to full online instruction if we wanted to provide the highest level of instruction. Even I jokingly said, I don't know if you or I would go to anyone who says, let me do your hair. I've never done it before, but I've done it on the internet, and you're going to be my first person.
Right.
Most people, and even with our nursing program and our cosmetology program and our welding program. So we have to get students back on this campus. And what we did, and I feel like I'm getting lengthy now, but what we did quicker than most is we got our students back that summer. We sent students home. When they went home for spring break, they went home. When they came back, and we had a brief summer program to give students a chance to come back and finish hands-on some of the programs they had started in the spring. And that fall, we opened back up, prepared for students to be on our campus with just some really stringent protocols, COVID protocols. And we've been so successful, and we've actually seen a 48% increase in enrollment from the time I became president in January 2020, or really fall when I arrived as vice president in January 2020 to now.
Nailed it.
Terrific.
48%.
48%.
Nice.
And I love that you brought up that you spoke about in 2018, there was talk of even closure of the college because that negative press was circulating. But what a great story, and how you're able to turn that around. And in addition to dealing with the challenges that COVID brought you.
Oh, it was a lot. I mean, I tell people, when you talk about Denmark Tech, you have to talk about pre-2020 and post-2020. And post-2020, I am a believer in a higher power. We have really been blessed, and our mantra of putting the tech back in Denmark Tech, that's what really has changed the narrative for us, because what we're finding is, I say this to people all the time, poverty doesn't have a color. And so even though we're an HBCU, our white students and everyone else, when they said, if you provide the programs, we will come. And so what we've seen is our CDL program, we just started this past January, we've already had over 100 graduates, and many of those people are out working. We started an EAT program last summer, and 2 of our students had emergency vehicles, ambulances outside where they had already gotten jobs. And so, those are the things that are important. Those are the important stories. So I think when we talk about that ROI, Joe, that you were talking about before, that our students are saying, hey, I can go here and get a great career and not have to be in school as long, not have these loans looming over me, and get into, making a better life for my family.
Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education, by Kate Colbert and Joe Salustio, with contributions by Elvin Freites, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. Get your Kindle edition or your softbound book. It's going to be
amazing.
How do you pick out programs at this point? I'm assuming you're working really close with the employers, right? Because these people are going to take your graduates. What does that exchange look like with the workforce development? How fast can you flip a program around if you've got a manufacturer in the rural area that you're in that comes and says, we really need students that, your CDL program, we need more truck drivers or whatever. How fast do you flip that curriculum around, that program around, to serve the community?
So that's the beauty of, I think, for us, the technical college, when we're looking at stackable credentials. If you're talking about an academic program that they're earning a degree in, then you have to look at submitting what we call a substantive change, going through our regional creditor. That can be a time-consuming process. If we're looking at creating a certificate or a diploma program, we can move through that certificate program fairly quickly to provide the needed services. Right now, we're partnering with our local county government. We're looking at an airplane mechanic technician program, and there's an airport less than a few miles from us, and they're going to do the class there. But our biggest challenge is also, another big challenge is, because we're in a rural community, we have limited industry here. So we're having to expand our search. So any industry that's saying, hey, we would love to partner with a small HBCU in rural South Carolina, I'm here saying, look, contact me, Todd W at denmarktech.edu, and we would love to partner with you. So we can turn those programs over fairly quickly. And we do have a great partnership with our industry. And South Carolina, the state of South Carolina, does a great job of supporting workforce, and our governor has really been supportive, putting millions of dollars into workforce. Last year alone, we gave $1.2 million in scholarships for workforce, because that's the other thing. If a CDL program is a $4,999 program and you're serving you're in a poor community, $4,000 to some may not sound like a lot. When you don't have money, that's a lot of money. We've been providing 100% thus far. And over the last year, we've seen an 1,104% increase in our workforce revenue. And all of this goes back to putting the tech back in Denmark Tech. So putting an emphasis on the technical programs, because that's what we are. We're a technical college.
Anya, I interrupted you last time, but my next question to Willie was going to be, and because I love the put the tech back in Denmark Tech, I want to know how many times you've said that since you became president, and we need to get somebody to verify it too.
Well, you know what? That's a good thing. I try to say it every time I speak. And the reason I do that, because one of the things you asked, I think, was how do we pick programs? And for us, we listen to the community, we listen to our industry, we look at the programs where people are hiring. Right now, we're a border state, of course, near Charleston, near Savannah. And we know when we looked at our CDL program, we just went to visit the South Carolina Port Authority last week. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg was there, and Congressman James Clyburn, along with individuals from local agencies there. And we are talking about partnering with them. We're looking at where is there a need? Where can we get our students trained that we know they're going to almost be guaranteed an opportunity? So that putting the tech back in Denmark Tech, what our challenge was when people were thinking of closing the colleges, we had gotten away from tech programs. And we were trying to focus on transfer programs, which is wonderful, but that's not what we are. we are a technical college. And so that putting the tech back in Denmark Tech, I say it all the time, because what we find is the more technical programs we create, the more students that come, the more the community gains their confidence back in us, and the more industry says, hey, we need to partner with Denmark Tech.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy, Anya. I mean, just note,
Yeah, go.
and I asked that facetiously, but I meant it seriously, because it's a branding. It's branding. It's
Yes.
branding for the institution. So people around the community are going to say, I've heard that before. Who says that? Oh, Denmark Tech says that. It's important if you're expanding beyond the rural community, because something like that has legs beyond sometimes what marketing can do. It's whispered between people, which is important. Also, I hear it in your energy, right? Every time you say it, I want to hit this right after.
Oh, yeah.
Because it becomes infectious, right?
Oh, yeah.
Amongst faculty and staff.
You know, putting the tech back in Denmark Tech.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's the way it should go. Anya,
I
over to
might
you.
steal that from you. So.
I love it.
You got it.
Super catchy. So I also noticed you have a senior citizens program. So how does that program serve a particular need in the market area?
Well, for us, that's really important, because students of a particular age are able to be supported in our South Carolina technical colleges without having to come out of pocket. And even as we saw in the pandemic, so many of our seniors became more technologically savvy than they've ever been before, because that was the way they could see their grandchildren and their children and even their own friends and different things like that. So even just offering basic computer classes just to teach, we had some grandparents that say, hey, I just want to learn how to, whatever that Zoom thing is, I want to be able to Zoom with the people, and so, but then there were others who started ordering, not so much in our smaller communities, but in our larger communities, we see people who wanted to order their groceries online, and things that people have been doing for years. Other people are using Instacart and all these different things, but said, hey, we just need some help in not being afraid of technology, even learning what their phones could do, because they didn't know that. And so it's been really good for us. But we also find a lot of seniors who are deciding to return back to work, because they say 65 is the new 55. And so there are people who retired and say, you know what, I still have a lot to offer. And so we find people coming back. But then even without our non-senior programs, we find a lot of four-year degree people who are coming back to technical colleges, because they're realizing that either they majored in something that they really didn't want to do. When I was at 4-year, I can't tell you the number of times I met college juniors, and they would say, you know what, Dr. Todd, I don't even want to major in this at this point, but I'm a junior, I'm going to stick with it. We're finding people that come back after the 4-year degree and get trained on a technical program and go back into industry. And oftentimes, not only are they doing something they possibly enjoy more, in some cases, they're even making more money.
Right. So what is the Denmark Master Plan?
So the Denmark Master Plan, for us, there are a few things. We're looking at ways to, I told you part of our vision is to become a premier technical college that provides education that exceeds industry standards. For us, we're looking at not only improving all of our buildings on campus, because see, this is something that a lot of people don't like to talk about. We're the only HBCU, but there's also, of the 16 colleges, but there has also been some major funding disparities that have happened in this state. We've not had a new technical building on this campus since 1961, and have not had a new academic building on this campus, barring our library, since 1975. So what we're looking at doing right now is we're looking at putting a new health sciences classroom on our campus. We're looking at adding more outside technology to our campus. We're looking at improving deferred maintenance and infrastructure. And we've done a lot of that over these past few years, but to take it to the next level, because if we want our students to consistently be able to compete on a high level, we have to make sure that our facilities are there. So we're looking at cybersecurity, we're looking at nuclear fundamentals, we're partnering with Savannah River Nuclear Site here in South Carolina. We also are doing things that are working with supporting even our incarcerated individuals. We are now a second chance Pell School, and we're working, trying to help provide opportunities for individuals who may be locked up. So when they do get out, that they have hopefully legal opportunities to earn wages. We're also looking at it becoming a center of energy on this campus. So we're looking at clean and sustainable and renewable energy as well. And so what we're trying to do is we're looking at where are the jobs of the future? And how can we make sure that the Denmark Tech grad that we have engaged, educated, and empowered is prepared to go out and get these opportunities and lead in these areas? And we're doing that so well because we're partnering with so many different groups right now, national groups. And that's why I said, anyone who's looking for an energetic team to partner with and provide access to citizens in rural South Carolina. One of my mentors often said, just because people are poor doesn't mean they want to be treated poorly. And so our goal is to provide them the best opportunities possible.
Well, we do have a number of people from business and industry that listen to this podcast and pretty large companies. So I like the pitch, and I would bet that you'll have a lot more connections on LinkedIn as soon as this pops out.
I'm hoping so.
Anya, you got more questions, or you want me to close it out with Dr. Todd?
Was there anything that Joe should have asked you? Not me, because this is his show, but anything that Joe should have asked you that he did not?
No, I think the both of you have done an awesome job. What I would say is something that a lot of people don't know about when they hear of HBCUs. We would love to I wish that we could get some of our industry to understand that as they're giving back to many of our HBCUs. And let me say this, first of all, I love the fact that industries are supporting HBCUs, but most of the companies are going to the same very recognizable brand institutions, and then they're forgetting about the smaller institutions. In fact, most people don't even know there are two-year HBCUs. As an HBCU graduate, up until maybe 5 years ago, I don't know if I knew there were two-year HBCUs. So when you have private HBCUs, they are a part of the United Negro College Fund. Your public HBCUs are part of the Thurgood Marshall College Fund. Denmark Tech, as a public HBCU, we were denied membership in Thurgood Marshall. So they said their charter doesn't support two-year HBCUs, but meanwhile, we are here with no national advocacy. No, when people donate, they think, well, I gave to this group, so you all are going to get some of that money. We do not. And we are serving such a poor rural community and creating magic here in this small community. But we would love to see some of those larger companies, if they're looking for schools to give to, and I'll be honest, not just the Denmark Techs, there are so many small HBCUs that could really benefit from the philanthropic support as we work to improve the quality of our facilities, even for a technical college, to hire instructors to lead the tech industry and come and work for us. The salaries that they command alone to get a high quality tech person, they're high. So we would love to see people who say, hey, I want to be able to support some of our HBCUs, continue to support the branded institutions. I love all HBCUs and all colleges, but realistically, let's look at some of the schools. Let's not keep giving to the same schools. Let's look at some of the other schools where our students could really benefit. And if there are internship, apprenticeship opportunities, partnership opportunities, our students would love that. If they're looking for people who come with great skills and also just great personalities and come with that Southern upbringing and would love to bring them into their companies and help grow them and support them and mentor them, we would love to provide those connections and opportunities.
Yes.
Well said.
That's a really important point in general that you make. And we talk to higher ed leaders all the time, of course, and there is a natural, besides the elitism argument that we try to dismantle on this podcast, and what does quality education mean from one institution to the next, and you take all that out, there are the haves and the have-nots, even within the higher education system. For every dollar that goes to Harvard, nobody needs that dollar. Let's just be honest. And there's another institution. Yeah, there's another.
Show. He can.
I can do that. I can do that. The president of Harvard probably never come on anyway, because But I mean, nobody needs that dollar. It's going to go into some kind of an investment somewhere. It's going to become in perpetuity. It's going to self-fund itself, and the endowment for Look, we interviewed the chancellor of the University of Texas system, J.B. Milliken, a really down to earth guy. Awesome. But their endowment's like $45 billion. All right. Now their endowment per student is like 170 something, 178,000 per student versus Harvard's that's, $1 million a student or whatever. So there is some college down the road somewhere that needs that money that could directly affect students' journeys more than the dollar goes to Harvard. And that would be true within the sector of HBCUs as well. We interviewed Dr. Wayne Frederick from Howard University. Awesome dude, down to earth, huge endowment. Lots of people go to Howard and Spelman and the recognizable names. But to your point, there are other HBCUs that aren't getting that recognition where that dollar would go directly to help a student get a job in a career and affect the community around that student in a more robust way. And I think we forget that we know higher ed, we always have these conversations, but there is this natural system of internal branding that affects external donations in the same type of way. And then you saw that with Mackenzie Scott, and you saw where the donations came and how they went and where they went. That opened it up a little bit. I thought she did a pretty good job of spreading money around, but still not to the level that you're describing.
Just imagine, instead of giving some of those schools 40 million, if they had chosen to give every school a few millions, because some of the schools got that 40 million. And like you said, it didn't even really matter as much to them. But that in our community, 2 million, 3 million would have provided students, many from poor rural communities, just the opportunity to attend school. It's the difference of whether they're able to attend or they're not able to attend.
I think that's why we need transformational leaders like you, Willie, to be able to bring that message forward. And hopefully we can provide a platform to get that message out to more people here at the EdUp Experience podcast. But before we let you go, we do want to know what you see as the future of higher education.
So I do see a much stronger emphasis on individuals choosing to look at technical education. And I'm not saying that just because I'm here. I told you 25 of my 28 years have been at 4-year, and I've been educated so much because I think many of us, when we think of factories, I think parents innately want we want our children to be better than we are. We want them to do better than we did. And I think the thing that we've always said is you need to go to college, you need to go to college. I still support going to college, but I think we need to look at different kinds of colleges. I think the technical college opportunity, whether it's nursing, whether it's culinary arts, barbering, cosmetology, welding, cybersecurity. What we're hearing from some cybersecurity companies is realistically, you don't necessarily need a 4-year degree to go and do cybersecurity. And we know right now, that's one of the fastest growing industries out there where people are going to have a very, very good living wage. I think we're going to see students who are demanding more from faculty. They're not interested in coming and listen to pontification that we think we're so brilliant. We can just sit there and talk and use notes that we've used for 15 and 20 years without making it relevant to them. I think students are demanding more. I think with technology in the classroom, they're expecting things at a higher level. I think we're seeing a level of a synergy between what's happening in the real world and technology together to impact the way we educate individuals. And I just think and I also think we're gonna see many more individuals now, schools wanting to have those apprenticeship opportunities as a requirement before their students leave to try to connect them, as opposed to, I think business schools and business programs have done it, but I think now we're looking consistently. We do that here. We want every student to leave with an experiential opportunity before they graduate from here. And I think some of the 4-year schools are now looking, saying, hey, we need to do that because we're finding too many people who are questioning the return on investment when you have college educated people with 4-year degrees working at the mall. Nothing's wrong with working at the mall, but you probably didn't go to get a 4-year degree to be a salesperson at the mall. Again, nothing's wrong with that. You're gainfully employed. That's awesome, but that's probably not what they went to school to do.
Love it. By the way, you've been in higher ed for 28 years. You don't look a day over 35. So I'm wondering how old you were when you started. Really early on, you started making an impact.
I was one of those kind of, and look, bless you, my child, bless you. You said you were awesome. Hit that awesome button.
Oh gosh, you can't put me on. You can't put me on blast like that. I'm never ready on the moment.
No one said he was brilliant.
Amazing.
Well, so Joe is brilliant, Anya.
He's good, man.
But no, I literally started right out of undergraduate school. And I was one of those individuals that I've worked in probably almost every role you could have. I literally worked as a residence hall director. I worked as an administrative assistant. I was a writing lab person. I was an English instructor. I was a coordinator of the undergraduate program. Then I moved to student affairs. I became what people would call a director of student activities, an executive director, an associate vice provost, a provost and vice president for academic affairs, vice president of academic affairs and student affairs, and then a president. So I think I was one of those people who checked as many boxes as you could check and have worked on both sides of the house, where typically people either come the academic affairs route or they come the student affairs route. Very few people can say they've been an administrator on both sides, and even better yet, a vice president on both sides. And so I've always known that I wanted to make a difference. Education changed my life. Had it not been for education, I have no doubt I could have been that young Black boy that you're reading about who made poor decisions because of life circumstances. But because there were teachers who saw me and said, hey, there's a light, a spark in young Willie Todd, that they pushed me. And I knew my parents just wanted me to be great. But as a first generation college student, I don't even know if they had the capacity to tell me what I needed to do. And I just knew I did not want to be poor. I knew I wanted to make an impact. And what I tell young people that I work with now, the only thing I ask you to do is to do what people did for me. Do what I'm doing for you. Give back with no expectation other than they be successful and that they give back when they're an opportunity to give back. And so for me, that's what education has done for me. That's why I do what I do. That's what we do here at Denmark Technical College. We really work to change lives, nurture the whole student, and make a high-level impact as we engage, educate, and empower.
I love it. That is one hell of a way to end an episode. I couldn't have done it better myself. And so I appreciate you, Willie, but I do also appreciate my guest co-host today. And Anya, you, of course, do an incredible job every time.
This is so
Yes.
fun.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Dr.
You know,
Todd.
I love you, Anya. I just say it's too perfect now. I get to mess with you like that.
I love it. It's good fun. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Of course, Willie, what an honor and a pleasure it was to have you on. Ladies and gentlemen, what I want you to do for my guest right now.
Stamp your feet on the ground now.
For my guest, Dr. Willie Todd, Jr., President of Denmark Technical College. Willie, an honor, a pleasure to have you. We'd love to have you back again. In fact, you know, I love when college presidents come and join me on the other side of the microphone to interview other college presidents. You know what? I like to say EdUp is a crowdsourced podcast, so we can get on and do this together when you want. Did you have a good experience on EdUp today? That's my only question for you.
I had a great experience, and I thank you all for acknowledging one of the lesser popular branded institution who's making a major impact. Anytime that you want me back, all you have to do is reach out. I'm there.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd. Commencement, the beginning of a new era in higher education, by Kate Colbert and Joe Salustio, with contributions by Elvin Freites, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. Get your Kindle edition or your softbound book. It's going to be
Amazing.